Why can't I find this? Man.
You get it?
Not really.
You don't have the article?
I have the article up. I'm just trying to find the one
It's down.
paragraph that outlined like all the stuff
Right.
it included.
It says to help address these issues is the first
There it
line.
is. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
Get on that. Mm-hmm. What it can I still don't have a scary stat like. I was just gonna say if I don't have one, we just skip it.
yeah. And if you come across,
I mean,
if we
really,
get to that,
nothing is jumping out as like. It's really average.
How about the Cubs are third to last in hits?
Which is weird because it seems like they seem like a pretty offensively robust team.
In the majors, third to last, 28th in the majors in hits.
huh? Oh boy.
Hmm. Yeah, we can just go, and if I figure something out,
Yeah, if you don't, then when we get to that point and I introduce it and you don't have anything, just say it and then I'll edit that out.
Nothing scary happening. Although they're tied for third to last, Andy. And
Oh,
That's
my
not-
bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, now that's not scary.
I could go with that. I mean, I'm gonna go with that unless I find something else.
What about, let's see.
But then,
I don't know. That doesn't seem that scary to me. Well, I guess it kind of is.
What about their 27th in the major leagues in pinch hitting batting average? I'm serious though. It's like people have been
Well,
like their bench is terrible.
That's a good point. Okay,
And
I think that's a good one.
And that's one of the weaknesses of this team is that they don't really have anybody who can, especially with the departure of Wellington. I mean,
Right?
who's going to come in?
Yeah.
well, how do you find the splits on pinch hitting?
I found it on ESPN team batting stats.
I think it'd be in the drop down on the MLB one has a lot of splits, but I don't see pinch hitting.
I think that's a good one.
Oh, here we go, pinch hitter. Although, let's see here. What was what part of it did you say? Their average?
Yeah, their batting average.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. 148.
Says
I'll be right back, guys, and I'll be ready.
Says one. Well, the MLB one says 148. What does that one say?
it says 150, so close.
Let's go with 148. Twins 063.
Yeah, that is rough. They're 1 for 16. The Cubs are 12 for 80. Gee whiz. They got to be near the top in just at bats for pinch hitters. Yeah, they're number 2 after Milwaukee.
This is crazy. Yeah. So they have 81 at bats behind the Brewers. The Royals total pinch hit at bats 6.
6. That's crazy.
And the Cubs have 81.
How is there that big of a difference? I mean, well, I suppose with
National League versus, but still that can't be that big of a. I mean, the Rays have 68 there, you know.
All right, I'm ready if you guys are.
Yes, I'm gonna flip this to National League. Yeah, I can be ready.
You ready, Andy?
Yeah.
All right. Check 1, 2. You guys want to talk real quick?
Check, check, check. Hello.
Oh, no, just kidding. I'll just goof around.
All right. Can you actually talk, Kurt?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can talk for reals now. Real talking. Checking levels. Boom, boom, boom.
I think I'm gonna have to turn you up.
Well, now you made me move away from the mic. So.
No, I know, but it's more clear if you're a little bit off of it.
Oh, man, it dinged every time you adjusted my audio. It was like ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah, it probably does that because I think Andy last week I was adjusting you as we were going. You could probably hear it.
I wish you would adjust me while we were going.
All right, here we go.
It should be a doozy.
Yeah, man. Dude, I've been so sick. I almost went to the hospital today. I was really scared, actually.
You're a hot mess.
Oh, man. You know what I think it's from? I had a bite of chicken at Taco Bell.
By accident?
Yeah, it had chicken in it.
Is it super tasty?
But see, that doesn't. It seems like that wouldn't cause that. I'm not going to reveal what the symptoms are, but it seems like it wouldn't. But
I don't know. Yeah, I know. My stomach still is not in good shape.
Whew.
I'm hoping I can go to work tomorrow, but that hour-long commute could be a little scary.
Bring an old coffee can with you.
All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, are you ready? I said, are you ready? This is Jason from the Quad Cities, and this episode of the IVNV podcast is brought.
I gotta start it over. It's too quiet on my end.
Amazing.
It is an amazing intro.
All right, here we go.
Hold on, I'm just. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, are you ready? I said, are you ready? This is Jason from the Quad Cities, and this episode of the IVNV podcast is brought to you by Patreon supporters like me. Corey, Andy, Kurt, it's showtime. Go Cubs.
Hey guys, I'm recording, okay?
Yeah, good shit.
Hi, and thanks for downloading this episode of the IVMV podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I'm joined by the other two hosts of this podcast through a Google Plus Hangout.
Hey, it's Andy.
And Kurt.
Because we use Google Plus, you can watch these broadcasts live. If you go to ivmv.com/live on Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. or thereabouts. We're off to a little bit of a slow start tonight, but you can watch us do this, and there's also a chat to log into where you can talk with other people that are watching the broadcast. This upcoming Saturday, that's June 6th, that is our Iowa Cubs game meetup in Des Moines, Iowa. We will meet at, we haven't really discussed this. Maybe we could take care of it here. We're going to meet at El Bait Shop. What do you guys think, 3 o'clock? That's kind of what I was thinking.
Time's game time? 7?
I would assume 7?
Ooh. Yeah, I think I could.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's hard for me to, go on off the cuff on planning without the wife in the room.
Right.
But, sure.
I would say, well, I'm kind of shooting for somewhere between 3 and 4. I would guess. I'm going to shoot for 3 just to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll sound all right to you, Andy?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Okay. We're 6 days out, but it looks like the weather's going to be good. It's like upper 80s. That's going to be nice. El Bait Shop is within walking distance of Principal Park, and if you've never been to El Bait Shop, they have tons of beer, quite the selection. Just a good place to hang out. So the 3 of us, we're bringing our wives and families. So if you have kids, this will be a family-friendly event, or at least a semi-family-friendly, IVNV family-friendly, I guess. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. There's pre-game fan batting practice, fellas.
Ooh.
I think we should go over and
after El Bait Shop.
That's right.
Sounds awesome.
I should get a hold of the Iowa Cubs and see if we can do like a home run derby with like the 3 of us and Javi.
My bat speed is pretty brutal.
You know, when I took a swing at a minor league ballpark in Modern Woodman, and I hit one off the base of the wall. So.
And there's the fact that only 2 out of the 4 of us will have MLB tattoos.
Right. I'm gonna have to do that in the next week. We get the minor league baseball logo tattooed on our necks.
Mine's on my lower back.
And it's stretched out.
It's all stretched and blown out. Yeah.
His
My
dad
skin was a lot tauter when I got it.
No. And then kids came along.
Yeah, so also, not only is there pregame fan batting practice, it's also dairy night. So I'm not sure what that means, but according to the Iowa Cubs website, it's dairy night.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. So the Iowa Cubs are playing the Memphis Redbirds, the Cardinals AAA affiliate. So that should be fun too. It's just going to be a good night, I think. Unfortunately, Saturday night is also Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Ooh.
So that kind of sucks.
Fudge.
So if there is an Iowa Cubs executive that's listening to this and they would like to move our group into an empty outfield suite so we can watch the baseball game and the hockey game, we would be glad to exchange our general admission tickets for a suite.
Yeah, and we would give you lots of praise on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's worth a lot of money right there.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of lots of praise on the podcast, I'm going to get to that in a second. But I haven't looked at how the rotation will line up. I'm really hoping for a Don Roach start. I'm not sure how. I don't know. I think he might. I don't know. I think it's going to be close. I don't know. I was gonna. Yeah. And also, obviously, I'm hoping that Javier Baez is still there. I don't think he's going to get called up in the next week.
I don't think so.
I was thinking I might have to find my Javier Baez jersey from last year's meetup.
Oh yeah, I still have mine, but it's too big for me, so it's like a tent.
I think you should still do it. I don't know why you would let your pride get in the way of supporting Javier Baez, but
I have better attire for the evening.
That's what you think.
He's talking about shirtless.
Right.
It's dairy night. I'm going wild.
It's dairy night. It's supposed to be in the upper 80s, and I should take it easy.
I gotta show off these udders.
I'm gonna paint myself up like a Holstein.
Got some milky Dougs.
Oh man. So that's our Iowa Cubs meetup. You don't know what you're walking into. Shirtless, dairy night,
moobs,
batting practice,
and moves.
Moves.
So if you're interested in any of those things,
and did we mention family friendly? Yep.
You can feed the kids.
Oh My back hurt. I think I threw my back out laughing. Oh,
yeah, no pre-game batting practice for you.
yeah, I gotta get loosened up. So if you're interested, or you decide at the last minute to go, get a hold of me. Email me, Corey, Corey at ivmb.com, or you can tweet at me at ivmb. What I wanted to say, you were talking about praise on the podcast, and I had an experience yesterday that I want to share on this podcast, and only because I really value our listeners, and I experienced something that I would love to share and to save everyone listening from the headache of buying a new car from a dealer or a used car from a dealer. It is a pain. Like, we've kind of needed a new car for a while, and I've just been dreading it because I hate. Have you guys ever bought a car from a dealer?
Yeah.
Times. Not brand new, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
So anyways, yesterday we drove up to Glen Ellen in the Chicagoland area and bought a car from Enterprise. And it's used, it was used as a rental, so it's only a year old. It's got like 29,000 miles on it, which isn't too bad. But there's no hassle as far as the price goes. So you don't have to like bargain with them or anything like that. Like when you buy a new car, then they're always trying to sell you like the maintenance packages and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, they'll give you a great like monthly price, and then by the end of it, it's like $80 higher. That's what's happened to me anyways.
Oh, man.
So anyways.
Oh, man.
All they do is like show you like, oh, if you want maintenance packages, here they are. Just let me know. And I was like, okay, that's where it starts. Just, oh yeah, just let me know. And we were like, no, I don't think so. He's like, all right, cool. And just moves on to the next thing. And like and they work with you. Like, we weren't sure if we were going to do financing through them. And they ended up like pitting like lending institutions against each other. And so like they got us, like it started off around like 4% financing. And I was like, I guess, it seems a little bit high, but whatever. And they got it down to like 2.1, and like just by like going back and forth with banks, and they do all that stuff for you. So it was crazy. And my brother-in-law happens to work for Enterprise, and so I just mentioned it when we were on our test drive. They were like, oh, why did you decide to buy a car from Enterprise? And I was like, oh, my brother-in-law works for Enterprise, and I know they've bought their cars this way, and we thought we'd give it a try. So then we get in there, and he's like, well, I don't think you guys knew this, but you get $1,000 off because of your brother-in-law. What? Yeah. I was like, what? You're kidding me. So it was like the easiest, no pressure car buying experience, which was really handy because I was in the bathroom half the time. I only got the details on
you
that.
had to drive back.
Oh, man. The drive back wasn't quite so bad as it's been since then. But anyway, I don't know. And so the sales guy was really awesome, and so I want to share his name. And I'm not like, obviously they're not giving me any money for this or anything like this.
Should be. Excuse me.
Yeah, maybe they will now. But especially after you burp.
I know. That's what happens when you drink beer on a podcast.
His name is Gregory Tosh, and it's they're in Glen Ellen.
Daniel Tosh?
No, Gregory Tosh. He's the sales manager at the Enterprise in Glen Ellen, Illinois. And it's on Roosevelt Road. But it was amazing. Like, we were there for a little while because he was like actually finishing up with someone else, so it took us a little while. But I mean, there was no pressure at all, no trying to upsell. And oh my gosh, I forgot to mention this. So we were trading in our van, and our van has seen better days. Especially like minivans seem to rust really bad for some reason, and ours was rusted. There were some issues with it. We've had it like 9 or 10 years, and when we traded it in, they gave us Kelley Blue Book value for it. Like, didn't even like inspect it or anything like that. Just like, oh, this is what Kelley Blue Book says. There you go. And it was like probably twice as much as I thought we would get for it in a trade-in. So
sweetness.
Yeah.
So now you have a new Lexus, thanks to the.
No. We got a Mitsubishi Outlander, which I really like. I mean, it's like on the inside it kind of feels like a minivan. It's got that third row seating, but on the way back I was getting like 30 miles a gallon. So, anyway, enough car talk. But if you are
That's a
in the
different
mar-
podcast.
right. If you are in the market for a new car, man, definitely check that. Look at you just go to like enterprisecarsales.com or something like that, and you can pick a car, and they'll ship it from wherever it is to. It costs you like ours came from Minnesota. It cost us like $300 to have it shipped there or whatever, driven there. But man, it was. I will never buy a car from a dealer again. That was so easy and stress free. It was awesome. So I just wanted to share it because I thought there's people that listen that may be able to benefit from that. So maybe we should talk about the Cubs though. So it really hasn't been. Today's game was pretty awesome, but it hasn't been the best week for the Cubs. Going back to the series in Arizona last weekend, the Cubs have gone 3-5, and so and including those games in Arizona were on the road, obviously, but since then, they've been at home, and that's not really what you'd like to see a team do at home. Are you guys discouraged at all by the Cubs' play here recently?
Not too much, but they did have to win today's game to play 500 ball for May. So they definitely have cooled off a little bit lately.
And that includes that really good. What did they win? 7 games in a row? 6 or 7. That stretch in there. The middle of the month they were looking really hot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last week they pretty much canceled out that 6-game streak. But I don't know. I guess overall I would say I'm not discouraged because now they're sort of back to more what we expected. We got kind of excited, which I think is still okay. Don't hate us for being excited about good baseball. But yeah, I think they're just kind of like, this is what baseball seasons do. They sort of, teams equalize. You have your hot streaks and your cold streaks, and they'll have more of these hot streaks and cold streaks. So I don't think there's any reason to like give up and walk away yet.
No, it just felt like after that middle stretch in May, I had a lot of optimism. Like I thought, this is a team that's going to do some damage, and it was like, that series against the Diamondbacks. Like I don't know, that series frustrated me, and that's where you'd like to see him just kind of put a team away.
Yeah.
And same thing with coming up this week, with going to Miami. Like you'd just like to see him. Like let's just sweep.
Not sweeping the Miami would be a disappointment. It's like they're so bad. They're just falling apart.
It's a train wreck down there.
So one of the questions I wrote down too is like, so we've seen 2 really, really good teams these last couple of series in the Nationals and the Royals. And so my question is sort of, do you think the Cubs are as good or close to as good or still have a lot of work to do? And then like I think I already know the answer to that. But what makes those teams kind of in the sort of slightly above echelon of teams? To me, the Cubs I'll answer my own question. The Cubs haven't quite reached that point yet. So now you guys can have at it.
Well, I think I think the bullpen kind of plays a role in that. Like the Royals have a really good bullpen, and the Cubs don't, or they do, but it's like today. If that game did not finish in the 11th inning, it was going to get ugly. Edwin Jackson was the only one left on the bench or sitting out there with Lester Strode. So I think maybe you'd prefer to have Lester Strode come in and pitch.
Or whoever the bullpen catcher was.
But the Royals have had such a serendipitous confluence of talent, like as far as their prospects are concerned. They've had quite a number of first-round picks that all of a sudden have become big league ready all at the same time.
Right.
And so it just seems like they have quite a bit of momentum going and quite a bit of talent that is just ready to perform.
Yeah, and I don't pay attention to the Royals too much. Well, really, I don't pay that much attention to the American League. But like the Nationals feel like a team that's legitimately strong, and the Royals kind of seem like a team that just scraps out wins, and I don't know. Like it doesn't seem like it's like I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the season the Royals were not. I mean, obviously they had a successful year last year, but I don't. For some reason, I just even hesitate to put them in that upper echelon of major league teams. But
in a way, they don't seem that dissimilar from the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're strong offensively. I mean, they're way better defensively than the Cubs. But I think that's something that could come with time for the Cubs. But yeah, I think the Nationals are just all around, top to bottom, pretty darn good. I mean, and then I think the Nationals are a better look at like what the Cubs could be in a couple of years when you've got a more complete rotation.
Right.
I mean, that rotation is just silly. And then, you've got Bryce Harper, who's crazy good, and so I think the Cubs could get to that point, but I think at this year they're not quite there, and it's hard to keep that in mind. Like at the beginning of the season, we kept saying like they're going to be good, they're going to be better, and they are, but they're not going to be great. So like don't keep your expectations in check, and then everything beyond that's just gravy. So when they go through these slumps, you just have to remind yourself that this is what we expected, but enjoy the good baseball.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat. I just opened it up. Andy asks if I still have the Corolla, and asks if Andy, you still have the extra key.
I didn't return it that long ago. It was kind of embarrassing how long I had it since spring training.
And then Danny says fans won't strike out with Enterprise car sales. No, just to be clear, they are not giving me any money. But they might. Who knows? Since I did that,
Let's hope so.
Hope they hit them up. Get some sort of commission or something. Finder's fee. Well, kind of to answer your question in a different way, Kurt. I mean, I look at with 4 of those losses, they lost by a combined 6 runs. Friday's game, that was a pretty frustrating game because the game was tied 4-4 heading into the 8th, and we've seen the Cubs play pretty well in the last few innings in tight games. I think they seem to be we kind of saw that today. They're a team that plays kind of loose and really don't they feel like a team that really kind of like thrives on that momentum? It's almost like
they're like procrastinators. They don't like that. Like, I've still got time. It's fine.
I think what it is too is like in today's game, it seems like we've seen a lot of instances, and maybe we haven't. Maybe I'm just imagining this where I think it was in the last week or two here on the podcast we talked about them not seeing we're not really seeing them put up like 4 or 5 runs in an inning, like just kind of that chain of base hit after base hit and just like kind of piling on anybody. But on the other hand, it seems like they're kind of doing that in tight situations where they're kind of like just getting on base, getting over, and just kind of putting a lot of pressure on the other team. But then in Friday's game, they gave up 4 runs in the final 2 innings. That was about the time I was able to move from the radio to the TV, so that was kind of frustrating for me. And I know it's not all in the bullpen because there was a Fowler error in there and everything, but I don't know. I guess I still say that these tight losses, these 1-run losses, are encouraging, especially when they're coming against teams like the Nationals, and the Royals, and I don't know. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough schedule, and they've been competitive in every game, and it's not like they're getting killed. At the same time, I mean it's frustrating to me watching like today's game where the wind is blowing in like crazy. And I'm just like, can you guys string together a few hits? I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, they've played these good teams pretty closely and pretty tough. So, I'm not really down about them.
Yeah, and Andy, you kind of talked last episode or the one before about the Cubs kind of relying on the long ball, and Friday's game, 3 of the 4 runs were from home runs by Soler and Russell. It seems like ever since you mentioned that I don't know if it was a week ago tonight, or on one of the midweek episodes,
Wednesday's episode, yeah.
Yeah, now that's kind of starting to stand out to me. And then also, I think what's really kind of killing them is that, like, especially that night in those last 2 innings on Friday, 5 of the final 6 Cubs batters in that game struck out. Montero, Soler, Lake, Russell, and Fowler all struck out in those last 2 innings. They had 15 strikeouts in that game. So I don't know that I don't. I guess if I'm feeling like any negativity, it's just kind of like a little bit of frustration about that type of stuff. But I don't feel that those are things. I still feel like we haven't got into like the real warm weather, the hot weather where I think this lineup could be really dangerous, and it just feels like we haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect them to just have some games where they just start tearing it up, hitting bombs, blowing out teams. All these close games, I'm just waiting for this lineup to come alive and just dominate a team every once in a while.
Yeah, that would be nice. Take some pressure off the pitching, which has been pretty good. Like Wada was really good again, and
yeah.
I mean, sort of like we've complained earlier about the back end of the rotation not being great, and now with Wada up there and Hendricks figuring it out, now all of a sudden 4 or 5 looks decent,
Right.
So
yeah.
now if Arrieta can just kind of find it, then I think they're looking pretty good, top to bottom.
Yeah, how about Miami? How about those bats come to life in Miami?
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be nice. Yeah, the nice little preview to the warm weather.
Yeah. I seem to remember, though, an early season series in Miami last year where I kind of thought that's where the Cubs might come to life, and they didn't. Of course, this is a far different team than last year's Cubs team. But that Lester Scherzer game was really fun to watch as a baseball fan. I guess it wasn't so much as a Cubs fan, but just to remind you, the Cubs lost that game 3-0. Scherzer went 7 innings, did not give up any runs. Lester went 7 innings and gave up 2 runs. Only 1 was earned. They had 23 strikeouts between the two of them. I'm not saying that the Cubs need to go out there and face one of the top pitchers in the game and put up 5 or 6 runs. But I think that this is the type of matchup that we would see if the Cubs were to get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And it feels like top-notch pitching has been pretty effective against the Cubs, and that concerns me, especially in a situation like if the Cubs were to get into that wild card play-in game. If nothing else, it would be nice to see them make those guys throw a lot of pitches, maybe draw some walks, and get those pitchers out early. But Scherzer only had 108 pitches through 7 innings. I can't remember, but I think maybe he didn't give up any walks, maybe 1. And the bad thing about that, though, is if you're facing somebody, one of the top pitchers in baseball, and they last 7 innings, you're only giving yourself 6 outs to generate a game's worth of offense off that team's bullpen. And at that point, too, you're not in the junk portion of the bullpen. You're facing the setup guy and the closer. And
there's a mental gap, the difference between when you've gone 7 against an elite pitcher and you jump into the bullpen versus you knocked a guy out in the 5th,
right?
And now you're into the bullpen, like totally different mindset. So a lot of times, even in those situations, you've got those 6 outs, but you're still struggling because you've been put down for 7 innings. So
yeah, and I know that it's only the last day of May, so I know this is premature to be thinking about a 1-game play-in game that concerns me, but I really would like to see the Cubs become more productive against the really good pitchers. And obviously this is a very young team, and to expect like 21, 22, 23-year-olds to go up there and be productive against people like James Shields and Scherzer and pitchers like that, I know that that's a tough thing to ask, but I kind of hope that we see that develop a little bit over the summer. Otherwise, I think the playoffs could be really tough, because you're not getting to face the number 4 and number 5 pitchers in a rotation. So, and a lot of these teams are going to bulk up, and especially with the number of pitching, really good pitchers that become free agents at the end of this year. I mean, I think we're going to see some of those competitive teams kind of boost their rotations. So, I don't know. So, kind of to go along with that, the season's moving right along, and as the weather starts to warm up and we get a few months into the season, teams start looking at what their weaknesses are and kind of getting an idea of whether or not they'll be competitive later in the season, and that means the trade rumors heat up. The last few years, the Cubs have been, there's been a lot of rumors flying around them because they were sellers. Now they're in the positions to potentially be buyers. So, Andy, do you want to talk about any of the rumors that are floating around?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of rumors rolling around out there, but a couple of big ones in particular. One that's a huge surprise is that the Cubs and Madden would be interested in Ben Zobrist. No association with them in the past, so I'm joking, of course, as Zobrist goes back to the days when the Tampa Bay were the Devil Rays. And so he and Joe Madden have a pretty big history together. But Zobrist is one of those players that's played absolutely every position on the field except for catcher, I don't think. But he is like the ultimate utility man, and so he also is a pretty good hitter to boot. So the Cubs have shown interest in him apparently. He is just coming back from a knee injury, and so there's that, and then also the fact that he is in the last year of his contract, and this year's worth $7.5 million. So it basically would be a rental, and who knows what the prospects would be of the Cubs re-signing him if they were to go for him. And so what it kind of boils down to with him is, are the Cubs willing to give up a decent prospect just for a Zobrist rental? And I kind of have my doubts about that, although he would be a decent upgrade over, say a Jonathan Herrera type, or even a Tommy La Stella perhaps. But the Zobrist one is one of the two, and the other one is Rafael Soriano, who surprisingly still unsigned this far into the season. He was a Bour a dollar sign client, and he switched over to I think it's Alan Nero is the guy's name, who happens to be Joe Madden's agent as well. So it's kind of an interesting move, but I would imagine that perhaps he wasn't happy with, I don't know, his status this far into the season. But the guy he has 207 career saves, and his velocity hasn't gone down much as he's aged. He used to pitch like kind of low to mid 90s with his fastball. It's been down to 91, 92 in the past couple of years. He did lose his closer job in Washington toward the end of last season, and he had an ERA of 6.48 in the second half of last season. So he was starting to struggle a little bit, but he would be one of those players that would be worth taking a chance on if you're looking to bolster your bullpen. A guy with a track record like Soriano could be worth taking a look at. And so, of course, the Cubs would, they're doing their due diligence and taking a look at him, kicking the tires, as some might say.
Yeah, and I wonder, what is a half a year free agent cost? Because there isn't a lot of track record for this kind of half-year bullpen free agent thing. So,
well, and I would expect that he probably would be looking for more a
longer deal, yeah.
Right, maybe through the end of next year or something like that.
Yeah. Which would be tough, given he hasn't, he had a rough year end of last year and then hasn't pitched this year. It'd be hard to throw money at a guy like that, but maybe it's worth a shot at a decent price.
Yeah, as far as Zobrist goes, obviously if there's a manager that knows how to use him, it would be Madden. However, you look at how what am I trying to say? How much utility he has. And
so to speak.
And it seems like a lot of teams would be interested in him. So, and I kind of wonder if with given how the trade between the A's and the Cubs went last year,
I'm going to ask for Addison Russell back. We'll trade this right up. So Zobrist for Russell.
Billy B might not be real eager to work with Theo. I don't know.
Even if the Cubs really like the guy, they could wait till after the season and try to get him
Right.
for next year.
I think though, if you look at the Cubs bench is not great right now, especially with the injuries to like Denorfia and Listella. You mentioned having Herrera there. Somebody like Zobrist would be a pretty good upgrade, I think, and just the fact that you can use them all over, and I would assume, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's probably a lot more of a consistent pinch hitter than what the Cubs have had this year.
Yeah, Zobrist is, pretty good on base percentage for his career, pretty good batting average. I mean, he'd be quite an upgrade over some of these other options the Cubs have, because I mean, right now their options as far as pinch hitters, I mean, it seems like Joe's been going to Mike Baxter right away for his first option off of the bench, and that's
Baxter almost won it today.
Yeah,
Wind wasn't blowing in
into the teeth of the wind. I mean, Pat said it himself I guess it was Ron that said on any other day at Wrigley Field that ball would have been gone.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, just to show you how shallow the bench is. I mean, 11 innings, yeah, you're going to be making some moves and stuff like that, trying to position yourself. But on the other hand, it's not like 15 or 16 innings where you're just like out of people. But here we were in the 11th inning, and I'm pretty sure I either read or heard that Jason Hamill was up to pinch hit. So
yeah, because Wood had already been spent in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's only the 11th, and I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, and part of this is injury, like you just touched on earlier, like with Stella and Dino. Like if those guys aren't hurt, you're already a lot better off your bench. But
the best thing that you just said right there, Kurt, is you called him Dino instead of North. I appreciate that.
That's all I know.
When he got signed, I was going to call him Dino, and you guys insisted on North.
Yeah, it'll be nice for them to get North back, though. I mean, they really could use some more options off the bench. Mike Baxter's fine, but I think the sickest player would be good to have on your bench. North.
All right. In these last few episodes, Carl Edwards Jr. has come up in discussion. In case you haven't heard, that's C.J. Edwards. Now goes by Carl Edwards Jr. Edwards was promoted to Iowa this week, and it looks like, I guess the road is kind of being paved for Edwards to join the Cubs later this season.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way. We've talked about too. He was a starter, and they moved him to the bullpen this year in Tennessee, and he's appeared in 13 games there. His ERA was really good at 2.66. His control has been pretty good. Overall, really solid out of the bullpen, even though he's sort of converting and making that transition. So, yeah, I think it looked like it was time. I think that there's been some question about his ability to stay as a starter in the major leagues based on his frame. I don't know anything more than that because I don't know that much about scouting, but anecdotally it seems to make some sense. So, and then also to sort of fast track him, like Corey said, up to the majors later this year, it made sense to move him. He'd done his work at AA. The bad news is he did appear in one game in Iowa, and it was not a good appearance, but it was just one appearance.
When he started off, I seem to remember him starting the season with a couple of bad performances.
Yeah, it was rough to begin the season in Tennessee, and he's really settled in as the season's gone on. But like at first, it was pretty shaky for him.
Yeah, he seems to early at least based on his Iowa start too. He walked 3 and gave up a hit, so he gave up 2 earned runs. But yeah, that's one start. So hopefully he'll do the same and settle in Iowa. But yeah, his stuff is there. He throws hard. So yeah, I think we'll see him later this year.
Yeah, Mike tweeted at us. He's at LeoSammy2134, and he said, "Could Carl Edwards Jr. be to the Cubs what Francisco Rodriguez was to the Angels in 2002? Haven't seen him pitch. Is his stuff that electric? It would be hard to believe, but is there a chance?" I haven't seen him pitch either.
Haven't either.
You know, with him coming over from the Rangers, he didn't play in the Midwest League, I don't believe, or if he did, I don't think he did. Didn't he
No,
start?
I think he
off
started in
Daytona?
Daytona.
Yeah. So I have never been able to see him pitch in person. I think we did see him at spring training, but maybe we saw him once, and it was a pretty short appearance if I remember right. So I don't know. I'm hoping to see him pitch in Iowa on Saturday. I would like to see him. So I don't know. I can't really answer that question just because I haven't seen him.
I do think, just generally speaking, there's some advantage to a guy like who's a late call up and a team that's going into the playoffs like the Angels were, and then guys haven't seen him, you know,
Right.
and then he all of a sudden he's on a playoff roster. It's like you haven't seen this guy, you don't have a book on him really, and he throws hard, and so yeah, he can get a lot of guys out. Or I don't know. I think there's definitely advantage to that. Whether or not he'll be K-Rod, that's a reach to me, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility.
Anything to add to this, Andy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, although I have seen some video of him, and his stuff can be pretty electric. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he could come up and help the Cubs at some point.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to some listener questions. I typically ask for these on Sunday mornings on our Facebook and Twitter. You can find those at ivmv.com/Facebook, and we are at ivmv on Twitter. This first one here comes from Tyson, and he says, with all the bullpen mediocrity, would it surprise my fellow Cubs fans to learn that the Cubs have the second-based context-adjusted FIP thus far in 2012? Surprised me for sure.
Yeah, that is interesting. It isn't something I've looked into before, but just kind of a brief, very high-level analysis of context FIP. It is kind of what it sounds like. It's FIP with context, and what that means is it takes into effect the batter, the catcher that's catching the pitcher, the umpire, the stadium, home field advantage, umpire bias, the handedness relationship of the pitcher and the batter, and then also other plate appearances that batters have had against pitchers. So it takes all that into account. So I think it's a more rounded, a more full picture of FIP, and you know, from the things I've read, it's a good predictor as well as a history stat. And a lot of stats, like you'll see in sabermetrics, they'll say, well, that's a good history stat, and then this is a good predictor of future performance stat. And I think this is one of those that they put in the all of the above category. So yeah, it's just a more well-rounded stat that takes a lot more into account.
Yeah.
But considering that the bullpen's been a perceived, weakness of the team, that statistic is a little surprising.
Yeah, and I wonder too how much of that Wrigley weighs on it, and then also the Cubs' schedule has been pretty tough, and I don't know the formulas, but maybe the schedule has something to do with it, playing better teams,
Well, we've had some. That is pitching staff FIP, so that includes the starters too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've seen some pretty strong. Well, I think we've seen some really strong performances by the starting pitching. I mean, we've seen some that weren't quite so great, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just saying we should also consider the fact that starting pitching is included in there. Chris says, I'd like to know your thoughts on the Ben Zobrist rumor, for it, against it, indifferent, as well as the domino effect it may cause in the player shuffle in and out of the lineup versus players being sent down.
Like I said before, I would be more into it if the Cubs were to go for him after the season is over. I don't think it's really necessarily worth giving up a young prospect for him just for a rental for the rest of 2015. I mean, of course, that depends on what the Cubs situation is at, especially come trade deadline. But I think I'm against it.
Right now, you're not against him playing for the Cubs.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, I just
Right.
don't think the timing is good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like him as a player, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think in rental terms at this point.
Yeah. I mean, if the Cubs can get a good deal for him, but it seems like there would be a lot of other teams that would be in the bidding for him. So, yeah. As far as like the player shuffle in and out of the lineup and players being sent down, I don't really worry about that stuff too much because if somebody's going to get sent down, it's because Ben Zobrist is a better player, or any player that's brought in, and so that makes the team better. I don't really worry too much like about Herrera being sent down or something like that.
I should say, like, it probably won't be like super cost prohibitive to. I mean, like, it's not like a super expensive rental. I mean, I would imagine like maybe $4 million or 3.5 for the rest of the year, but still.
Yeah, I don't think the money is probably the holdup. I'd probably be like what you'd have to give up, given the market.
Right.
But I will say that I'm also kind of looking forward to this stuff. I mean, like we've seen the last couple of years that the Cubs make a lot of deals earlier than you would expect. And so, we're not too far here. We are heading into June, and I think we could see them make some moves here in the next month.
Well, yeah, the big Samardzija Hamill deal was like July 4.
Right. Sam says Schwarber's bat is clearly going to be ready for the big leagues relatively soon. What exactly about his defense does he need to work on to be a major league catcher? Is this just an experience thing?
Partly just an experience thing, but I talked about on one of the last episodes about he had quite a few. He has had quite a few passed balls, and just basically like being a good backstop. I think he needs to work on.
We've also seen. I mean, we know that this front office values framing, obviously, with bringing in Montero and sending Castillo on his way. So I think they want. I don't think they just want someone that's going to be a typical catcher. Like I think they really want to kind of utilize that position, and I would assume that Schwarber's just got some work to be done in that area. I doubt if there was a whole lot of time spent at Indiana University on pitch framing and some of the, more advanced techniques and things like that. So when you consider all of those pitch framing and calling a game and everything like that, when you consider all those things, I think that there's probably about as much. I'm just shooting. I'm just going off the cuff here, but I think that would require. Maybe it's not at the same level as pitching as far as development that needs to be done in the minor leagues, but I would say it's far more than the other positions on the field that I could see it taking a lot more time to develop those skills.
Sure. I mean, one of the most important defensive positions on the field outside of shortstop, and probably more important than shortstop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never seen him. Well, I saw him play once, I guess, at the Quad Cities. But as a draft pick, he was not drafted as a good catcher. So he wasn't even scouted as, wow, this guy's a really good catcher out of college. So even college catchers need work, and I think so. He was like a mediocre catcher out of college, and so to transition that to major league ready catching, I think there's a huge gap there. And I think they just recognize that he could make that jump, or that at least they think that he can, so they're giving him a shot to do it. But whether or not he can, or how valuable the bat becomes, is really the question. Do you want to wait for the catching to come around, or just go for the bat right away?
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like this is going to be a topic over the, really for probably the next couple months, because I think this is our third episode where we're kind of talking about it. And I don't know. Right now, my hunch is that he does not come up this year.
Well, and I think keeping him at catcher at least gives you the built-in excuse. Not that they need an excuse, but to just say, well, he's still working on his defense. He's not ready yet.
I really feel like I mean, I think they could really fast track him. I think
Yeah.
if they were ready to give up on him as a catcher, he would be in Iowa now or very soon, and potentially like I think the Cubs were kind of like slow playing minor league development for a while, trying to get the timing right. But I mean, now look at what they've done with Addison Russell. I think once they feel like they have a team that's competitive, I don't think they're going to emphasize that stuff as much. I think they're going to say, well, this is our chance, bring him up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Well, Jason from New Mexico, I don't know what he means by this. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I don't know if that's some. I mean, I know that that's a reference. I've seen.
I think
those
according to the
commercials.
owl, it's 3.
Okay, that's all you can handle.
It's 1,
Please.
2, 3 crunch.
Yep. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Ed says, who came up with the name Ivy Envy, which I like. Sounds like an Andy idea. Actually, it was not Andy. It was my wife that came up with the name Ivy Envy. Those were back in the pre-Kurt days.
Yeah. I
Kurt
don't even know.
wasn't even in the picture.
I don't even know if I knew you then.
I don't think you did, no.
Maybe we had met, but
Yeah, I don't think so.
I remember trying to think of a name though, and
Yeah, and I remember having a sheet of paper with a lot of ideas on it, and man, I wish I had that.
yeah,
I really wish I had
there were
that.
some terrible ones on there, and like we probably dodged a bullet big time with all the. There were probably a ton of Cubs ones on there.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't remember any of them. I'm sure they were all terrible. Like naming things is not one of my strong suits. Like naming bands or naming. I've never been good at
Kids, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Your kids have great names.
that. I only chose one of them.
Was it the good one or the bad one? No, but thank you, Ed, for thinking that it was my idea, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It is a good name. You have to. I like
Yeah,
it. Too.
and there's not a lot of like meaning behind it necessarily. I mean, Ivy Envy is an actual thing where like I think it's like that. My understanding is it's and I didn't know this until afterwards, but it's like a thing where like people that go to really good schools but not to Ivy League schools have Ivy Envy. But I don't know. I honestly can't remember like even our rationale behind it. I mean, other than Ivy on the wall, actually, and I suppose we could say that other teams have Ivy Envy. I don't know. It's just what it is. What does it mean to you guys?
Mm. Sunday nights in my basement.
A non-existent paycheck.
Millions of dollars.
Well, I've always thought of it as the pretty amazing setting and context that the Cubs get to call home, and the fact that it is something that other fans of other teams or other teams could be envious of, but
Right.
I don't like to. I don't know. I mean,
It doesn't.
whatever.
Yeah, like well, I mean, yeah, I would kind of agree with you, but I don't think that like that was our rationale behind it. You know, I just thought it had a like good ring to it, and so we went with it.
Here's the good news. If you Google it, you can't find anything about like it being like higher education related until like page 2.5 or something. So it's all us, and then all of a sudden you find an article about the other IBMB. So we've taken it and now we own it. So.
Right. And so basically the gist of this is that there is no meaning behind it really. It's just a standalone. It's just a name, I guess. Michael from Colorado says homers or hits. Which would each of you rather see? That's a good question. I like that.
Well, I tell you what, this is coming off that Bryant monster shot. The fan in me, you certainly get more excited about that than you do about hits, but the reality is the getting on base and stringing hits together is what scores a lot of runs. So for wins, the hits, but man, those home runs are awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, homers are fun to watch, that's for sure. But like we were kind of talking earlier, if you can really string hits together, you can put up crooked numbers on the scoreboard. I mean, you can especially against starters, you can get those starters out of the game earlier. You can, a home run is just one pitch, and so I mean we've seen the Cubs get just like a solo home run and off of a good pitcher, but that's it, So I would. In other words, I agree with you completely, Kurt. Homers are very fun to watch, but if I was using common sense, I would say hits.
I think I like to see like a string of drop third strikes. Players reaching via drop third strikes.
And then walk in the winning run.
Yes, yep. So that's what I would prefer. But if I had to pick one of the ones listed, I would probably say homers, even though in my right mind I would say hits, but God, I love a good homer.
Well, that's the other side of it is like that Bryant home run makes you jump out of your seat, like,
Right.
But hits get you excited, but it's sort of a slower curve.
Oh, a bloop single.
Yeah, like, oh, another one. It's 2-1. Yeah, so the payoff is a little more.
My butt will never meet seat again if this keeps up.
Well, I mean, with my Pee Wee team, I coach them that we just need hits. Don't swing for the fence.
You're coaching from a different position.
I also coach to swing for the fence though too. So
when you have 0 hits, a hit is a step in the right direction.
Well,
right?
certain kids are just very unsure, so they kind of do like a half swing and they're like real nervous and they like basically check their swing. As soon as they realize they're not making contact, they stop swinging. So those kids I tell to swing for the fences.
Let's go for it.
Right. Then the kids that like are swinging for the fences and missing by a mile, they're the ones I tell we just need to get on base. We just need a hit. Speaking of which, little Pee Wee update. I've got my one good player. My one great player. I have a couple of other good players. My great player, I found out that he's playing in 2 leagues, and he has an air cast on his knee. And he's potentially done for the season.
How did you not write that in his contract that he can't go play in other leagues? It's awful.
No, that's how I keep his morale up for my team, is by letting him play for the higher up level, because I don't know. So I was pretty sad to hear that. On top of me really wanting him on the team, it kind of sucks to see him get hurt.
He's on the 15
They
day
had to take him
now.
to the hospital.
Oh, could be retroactive 60 day.
I don't know. I hope he gets better though. I'd hate to see it, like, especially that was the first day of summer too. I hate to see, like, he's in 5th grade. I hate to see a kid with a cast on all summer. But okay, moving on. Jeremy from Mesa says, how do you guys feel about guys over the age of 18 bringing their glove to games? Your answer will dictate whether or not I tell you I still bring my glove to games.
Nice.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, we've answered this question.
Yeah, my feeling on it is I wouldn't. I don't take my glove to a game, and depending on the guy, I might get a chuckle out of it, but I don't think that I would look down on anyone for taking a glove to a game.
I probably way overthink this, but I would say no. If it's just like me and my wife going to a game, no, I wouldn't. If I have got my kid with me, I wouldn't feel quite as silly with my glove because he's 3. And also, the other thing I've considered lately, because I'm really paranoid parent, like if I'm sitting in the third baseline and I've got my 3-year-old with me, I might wear the glove for protection.
Right, yeah.
Catch a screamer that's coming at him.
Because
that's what I do.
I could see you right.
Just bounce it off my chest.
You just close your eyes and stick your arm out.
Just behind me, little one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would only get a chuckle out of it if it's like just a guy that's like,
it's by himself.
or no, not even that, but like a guy that's like kind of like, there's those guys at games that think they're still ball players that are the size of like twice the size of real ball players, and they
don't bring their gloves because they can just barehand it
and like talk crap at games to players, and I don't know, it's like those kind of guys like that too. If I saw with a glove, I would chuckle about it.
Pros.
How about you, Andy? What do you think?
I think it's okay to bring your glove to a game. I don't think it's a big deal. If that's what you like to do, then do it.
Yeah.
To each their own, the IBMB motto.
Right.
Bring your glove.
Yeah. I don't think I can't even remember. I don't know if I've ever taken my glove to a game.
I used to when I was younger, when I was 12. You know?
Yeah. I will admit I really do enjoy like when they show kids in the stands to see kids wearing their gloves. I think that's really cool. Speaking of kids, did you guys see that video of Andrew McCutchen giving a kid like his batting glove?
No.
It is like one of the most like I did like kind of tear up a little bit when I saw it. Like it was on the road. I don't even know where they're playing, but McCutchen ran over, and there were these two kids and the dad, and McCutchen gave them his batting glove. It looked like his batting glove, and the kids were like so excited and like just like super pumped and like finger pointing at him and saying, "I love you." I don't know. You should find it's really like heartwarming. It's just like, yeah, that's what baseball needs. You know what I mean? Like it's exciting to see young kids like that. Like, and I mean, they were probably like 10, 12, or 8, 10, somewhere in there.
I remember being pretty touched by it, and then I saw his pay stub.
Like, nah.
Okay, moving on. Chris says, do you think a trade involving Castro or Baez is in the near future?
Maybe Baez, but
Boy, that one's tough. I want to say no, but you kind of feel like something's coming.
I'm gonna say no. I don't know.
I'm just
Hold on. Hey guys, hold on just 1 second. I gotta put new batteries in.
Oof. Save that.
I know. That's why I was distracted there and did not want the batteries to go dead.
You guys need an industrial generator out there at the homestead. You're going to be doomsday preppers.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy, if you want to give your thoughts on this here in a second. All right, go ahead.
I could see a trade of Baez in the near future, but I don't know. It's hard to predict given I still see Castro as so valuable because he's an established major league bat, and
this Castro hate is out of control.
It is. It really is.
It's so stupid.
As you can see, I'm wearing a Castro jersey today just because I feel like I need to show the guy some love. But
I saw like, I don't know if it was on Twitter or Instagram or something like that. Like somebody pointed out like how many hits he has, and that basically 3,000 hits is fairly attainable for him. And it said what he would need to do to get to 4,000 hits, and about that being a they didn't mention anything about that being Hall of Fame level or anything, but somebody like commented on it and said, I hope he gets those hits for another team. It's like, what?
Jeez,
it's
why?
like the stupidest thing I've ever read.
Why?
I hope someone else gets 4,000 hits for some other team.
What the heck?
We don't need those 4,000 hits.
Well, he already has 52 this season, and I could still see him eventually getting close to, his 207 hits in 2011, somewhere close to that, maybe slightly under 200. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is kind of struggling, but like still he's on a really friendly contract, and he's a pretty good player. Like I don't know. I don't understand the hate either.
I just think we've gotten to the point with Castro where if he makes any mistake, then that it's like he could play 3 weeks with no mistakes, and then if he makes one mistake, then everybody freaks out. I just think everything is like everything is under so much scrutiny. It's just so, I don't know.
Yeah, and for me it's hard to believe. Like, why do people? I get he's kind of aloof. Like I understand that, but like, why do people hate him so much? Like he's not done stuff to like. He's not real controversial. He doesn't say crazy stuff. I mean,
He
I
has
don't
crazy
know.
Instagram pictures.
Yeah,
The thing
with
is
his hand
that
in his pants and stuff.
he does have a lot of strikeouts already this season, as well as a lot of errors in the field. He has 11 errors
That is
so
pretty
far. I mean, I can understand a little bit of the, people decrying him as as even being an option for the Cubs going forward. But at the same time, I mean, you can't just take like what he's done this season out of context. I mean, you could place it in the context of his career so far, and he's proven himself to be a valuable player.
Right.
Well, and the reality is they don't have any other shortstops. So that's kind of it.
What are we going to do about this lack of shortstops?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think I don't know. I hate to see that kind of like if you look at like Cubs Cubs Instagram and stuff, like anything with Castro in it, it's just tons of hate, and I do not get it. Like I don't get it. I think it's if you're a Castro hater, I don't get you. I can understand being frustrated by him at times,
Yeah.
but I think that frustration has to go away when you see how much he brings and how much he does, and like you mentioned, Kurt, how team friendly his deal is. I like him. Let's see. Jeremy has another question here. How would you guys feel if they started doing promotional themed jerseys at the major league level, like they do in the minors?
Don't they? I mean, they wore the whales. I mean, is that not what he's talking about?
I mean, I think he means like the Star Wars one and the Back to the Future one and stuff like that.
No way. Like remember that picture of Sandberg in that Iron Pigs like Santa Claus outfit or something? That is awful. Don't.
Well, now that you mentioned that one, I'm all for it.
I think minor league teams do it, just to get people to the park, make things kind of interesting, make things fun. They sell them for charity and stuff like that. I don't think Major League Baseball needs that too much. And there's a lot of stuff that the minor leagues do that I don't think major league stadiums and ballparks will ever do. But who knows? I could see a team doing it though. You could see a team that doesn't draw real well and try to get just some publicity and stuff. I could see certain teams starting to do it.
Yeah, I would think MLB would come down on them pretty hard.
Yeah, there may be. Yeah, that's true.
Because it seems like the things they do are pretty consistent. Like everybody's got a throwback, everybody's got camo numbers,
right?
Everybody's got a pink thing, and then that's about it.
Yeah. I hope they keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball Matters at Baseball Matters with the Z. Soler's bat is silent and underwhelming. Or I think he's saying is Soler's bat silent / underwhelming, or is this his learning curve, learning the strike zone, etc.?
I think like people are thinking that he's really, really struggling this season, but didn't he hit like 300 for the month of May? I mean, the dude is actually playing a little bit better than I think people realize.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember he's a rookie. I think you do have to chalk some of it up to inexperience and his learning curve, and he's striking out, but 32% strikeout rate is not the alarming rate that we've seen from other rookies like Javier Baez and Brett Jackson. I mean, I think it's worth keeping an eye on, but I feel like we've also seen him make adjustments at times. I've seen him start to swing at a slider away and then catch himself, and you can see him like stop and think about what he saw. So I think those are good signs.
The last 28 days he's hitting 284 with a 333 OBP, 432 slugging. His BABIP though is 377. He has actually had kind of a high BABIP this season.
I think his BABIP on the season is 400 too.
It looks like 2015 it is 400. So maybe been getting a little bit fortunate on balls put in play, but his season isn't as bad as people think it is, although the strikeout numbers are pretty alarmingly high.
Yeah, Kurt, anything to add to that?
Not really. No.
I just think we cannot expect all these rookies to come up and play like veterans right away. Like they are still rookies. They are still kids. And I mean, Solaire's a little bit older, but I don't know.
I just thought of something too. I wonder if maybe some of this we're a little skewed because he seems to. This is totally anecdotal, but he seems to have come up in like more meaningful situations. Like today, he struck out with a couple on. With a chance a hit would have won the game. That kind of thing. Like he's been in meaningful positions where he has struck out, and maybe that's sort of skewing the perception that he hasn't been good when in reality his numbers aren't that bad.
Yeah. Danny Rocket, who is at Son Ranto, like Ron Santo, but flipped around.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, he's in the chat. Danny, we hung out with him at spring training. Anyways, he says, do you agree with Madden's lineup choices? Russell ninth, for example. And then to go along with that, Matthew, who is at Moke, M-O-O-K-E, Mook91, says, think Castro should drop to ninth and Russell move up in the order or put him second. I feel like he always hit better in the two-hole before. So kind of those lineup things.
I feel like Addison Russell is a good enough hitter that you'd want to get him more at bats, just generally speaking. I feel like he would be really good in the two-hole because he has some pop in his bat. And I mean, I wonder how many times he's come up to bat with anybody on since he's batting after the pitcher. And so I think give him a chance to actually have a base runner, have somebody on to hit a homer.
Yeah, I think part of it is just given how young he is and kind of his inexperience. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of games at the AA level. He didn't play in AAA very long, just a month or something. And so I feel like they put him in the 9 spot just to take some pressure off of him. If he was up higher up in the lineup, especially in number 2 or somewhere in there, 5 even, I think it's more pressure on him to produce. And in the 9 spot, he's almost like a second leadoff hitter. So the goal is just to get on base. I don't know, but in regards to Madden's lineup choices, I really like Madden is kind of one of those guys that I just trust. He knows more than I do. I haven't found myself questioning him very much because I'm just kind of interested by how he does things.
Yeah, but I still if Addison continues to improve and starts playing better, I mean, I feel like that warrants moving up in the lineup just to have more plate appearances.
And I could see that happening. I just think that I think early on they said that he was going to hit in that 9 hole and they were just going to kind of let him get comfortable with everything there. And I think they're just sticking to that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that too.
And the last one here is from Hawkeye871 on Twitter. Says, why have the Cubs been committing so many errors lately? Is it just our young players?
Yeah, I think that does have a lot to do with it. Although you have slightly inflated tallies from Starlin Castro, for example, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with youth, I think.
Well, I think it's youth, and it's also players that haven't spent a ton of time together, and that on-the-field chemistry may not quite be there yet.
Yeah, for now I'd chalk it up to youth, but definitely needs to improve.
All right. So thanks for sending those in, everybody. We appreciate it. And Kurt, did you have a scary stat for tonight?
I do. It kind of touches on something we talked about earlier in the depth of the bench and the in that conversation. And right now the Cubs are second in baseball in pinch hit appearance at bats, which is 81. They're second behind the Brewers, who have 86, and their pinch hit batting average is just 148. Um, so yeah, they're struggling in the pinch hitting department. So like a guy like Zobrist could probably help that out a lot, or even the return of Dino and North and Listella, or guys, deepening the bench could really help that. I think that highlights it. Is that they're struggling. They don't have that go-to guy off the bench in a key situation, and to have that many pinch hit at bats with that low of production definitely hurts.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is scary.
Yeah.
I kind of expected it to be low. I didn't expect it to be that low.
Yeah. The OBP is 258. Oh, and slugging 222. So.
Oh man.
That's rough.
Ugh, yikes. All right. So Internet Muscle Flexes. If you're new to our show, we basically go on Cubs social media stuff and on Cubs.com and find where commenters are flexing their internet muscles. I actually got one sent in today, so I'm going to read that one real quick. This one's from Will. He sent this in, and I don't know. I think he maybe said where he got it, and now I can't remember. But the comment reads, "Madden stinks. He has lost more games himself than any of the Cubs players combined, killing rally after rally with the pitchers batting 8th, batting Castro 4th, who hits 2 ground balls a game to the shortstop, automatic double play candidate, and mismanages the pitching staff day after day. The Cubs will be below 500 by the end of June. Another great move by our GM Theo. Pitiful."
Wow. That's awesome.
So do you guys have any internet muscle flexes?
I don't, because I did have one on my phone and I lost it. Like, I don't know if I deleted it or what, but I usually just screenshot, Instagram.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
what-
can't find it.
I have several tonight, and they all come from Instagram.
Yeah, I don't have one.
All right, well, then I'll read through mine. Well, first off, I have a great internet muscle flex that I'm not going to read on the air. So if you're watching live, stick around after the show because I'm going to share it with you guys. Okay, so this first, these all come from Instagram. This first one is from a rainbow. Remember earlier this week there was that rainbow at Wrigley Field, and they took a picture of it and everything. So the commenter, this wasn't even a muscle flex. I just found it hilarious. The commenter says, "At a glance, I thought that dark cloud was a dinosaur head, and I wanted to make it very clear that's the only reason I'm liking this."
Nice.
I have no idea why I found that funny. The second one here is from it's like kind of like a collage type thing, and it's like these photos of fans and stuff. And the commenter says, and there's in the collage, there's 2 young ladies.
This might have been, I think, Corey, this is the one. This is what I had. I know what's coming.
So bad. So the comment says, "What's up with the chubbers on there?"
Oh, no.
That's exactly what it was.
It says, "There's got to be hotter Cubs fans than this."
And then somewhere below, somebody replied to him, like, agreeing. Some bro who's, like, super
God.
flexed out. Like, yeah.
That's so disgusting.
It is disgusting. She just looked like a normal person.
Right, exactly.
People are evil. That's
I know. There's like people there just enjoying the Cubs, enjoying their day, and then they're probably like, "Oh, Cubs told them like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you on Instagram, check it out, whatever." And then you go on there and you look and like some D-back calls you a chubber. So stupid.
Yeah. Like I can have ass hat of the week too.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Here, wait a minute. I got.
It's time for the Ass Hat of the Week.
We haven't used that one in a while. Whoever that was, that commenter, ass hat. So I went back a little ways. I was just kind of browsing today. So there's like a picture. The Cubs posted a picture of the Castro Bryant mirroring play. I'm sure you all remember that. This person says Rizzo was mad about that because he wasn't in the spotlight. I love social media.
Oh man, well I have one all of a sudden. Just like one commenter says, "Does Madden have Alzheimer's? Coughlin leading off, brilliant. Next game, lead off with the pitcher." And then some dude posted a meme with Homer drooling, and it said Cubs armchair manager who thinks they know more than Joe Madden.
Oh man. All right, well that does it for this week's episode. In case you hadn't noticed, I've been putting voicemails at the end of our episodes. You can leave us a voicemail through our iOS app, or you can call 309-517-1624. That's 309-517-1624. And if you have any comments on what you've heard on our episodes, or if you're watching a Cubs game and you want to comment on something, if you want to muscle flex on someone, call it in anytime, and we'll plug it in at the end of our next episode. We do have one to play tonight. I mentioned our iOS app. We're still waiting for Google to approve the Android app. The iOS app is free. It's in the iOS App Store, or you can get it by going to ivmb.com/iOS on your iPhone or your iPad. You can get push notifications when we release our new episodes, or you can listen to the episodes within the app. You can email us, connect to our social accounts, and like I said, leave a voicemail. Our app, the second show we do each week on Wednesdays, and the Daily Northside Recap are all made possible by support from our Patreon contributors. We'd like to thank the Hall of Fame level contributors: Peter, Guy, Stuart, Stephen, Charles, Dallas, Jeremy, Dave, Dizzle, Dave, Jeremy, Tony, Luke, Ryan, no, Luke, Rick, sorry. Oh, damn it. Shit. I'm going to have to do that part over again. Sorry. Gosh dang it. Okay, here we go. Well, that does it for this episode. In case you hadn't noticed, I've been putting voicemails at the end of our episodes. You can leave us voicemails through our iOS app, or you can call 309-517-1624. That's 309-517-1624. If you have any comments on what you've heard on this episode or any of our episodes, or if you're watching a Cubs game and you want to comment on something that you see, call in at any time. It doesn't ring an actual phone. It's just voicemails. And we will plug it in at the end of our next episode. We do have one voicemail to play tonight. I mentioned on our iOS app that I mentioned that, and we're still waiting for Google to approve our Android app. The iOS app is free. It's in the iOS App Store, or you can get it by going to ivmb.com/iOS on your iPhone or your iPad. You get push notifications when we release new episodes. You can listen to those episodes through the app. You can email us, connect to our social accounts, and like I said, leave a voicemail for us. Our app, the second show we do each week on Wednesday nights, and the Daily Northside Recap, those are all made possible by support from our Patreon contributors. We would like to thank our Hall of Fame level contributors: Peter, Guy, Stuart, Stephen, Charles, Dallas, Jeremy, David, Dizzle, Dave, Jeremy, Tony, Luke, Rick, Craig, John, Michael, Shane, Cass, and Jane. The Patreon associate producers are Jason in New Mexico, Tim Marr, Brian Hunt, Ryan Shores, Joshua Hansen, Anthony Hutfels, Matthew Macer, and the Quad Cities' own Jason Nunn. Patreon helps us pay the podcasting bills, and it helps us improve everyone's IVMB experience. Here in the last week or so, a bunch of you should have received your Patreon perks, and the next round will be going out soon. We have a lot of perks and pledging levels through Patreon. They started at $1 a month, and you can go to patreon.com/IVMB. That's patreon.com/IVMB to check out our campaign. So the Cubs hit the road for the next week and a half. They start things off by going to Miami to play the Marlins. It'd be nice to see the Cubs get on track, play well in that series, maybe come out with a sweep. That'd be cool. Lots of distractions going on down there for the Marlins, so hopefully the Cubs can take advantage of that. Andy and I will be back on Wednesday night to talk about this series with the Marlins. And until then, go Cubs.
guys, this is Dawn from Plainfield. Corey, just listening to last night's podcast and hearing all of your stories from Coach and Pee Wee, and I wanted to give you some advice. I heard an interview with David DeJesus once a couple years ago, and he said when his dad coached Pee Wee, he just called every single kid on the team Henry. So you had mentioned that you called the kid by the wrong name. So why don't you try maybe tomorrow, or next time you have a game, just call all the kids the same name. It seemed to work out just fine for David DeJesus' dad, and hey, look how his son turned out. So keep up the great work, and can't wait to hear how your next Pee Wee game turns out. It's almost exciting as how the Cubs games are turning out these days. All right, have a good day, guys. Bye.
You guys there?
Yeah.
All right, so here's this muscle flex. Let me find it. All right, it's going to take me a second. I don't think this was it, but this was one that made me giggle. Somebody posted, "This is bullshit. I drove 5 hours to learn the game was canceled." Then somebody underneath said, "Look at the weather, dude." Oh, here it is. Oh, this is so good. Okay. I can't even remember what the picture was. Oh, it was all those Cubs players wearing the Blackhawks sweaters.
Oh my gosh, you guys, before you read it, in that picture, somebody was wearing the catcher's mask in the back row that wasn't a catcher. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Like the one that looks like a goalie mask. Because Montero and Ross were somewhere else in the picture, so I don't know who it was. This is very funny.
All right, so here you go. This makes no sense. This person leaves 2 comments. The second one is in clarification of the first one. It says, "I will be there Monday, and you can bet I'll be jerking off all Monday." And then underneath, he said, "In school."
Well, I can vouch for the fact that people do it and do that in school.
Oh man. Oh, that's...
I couldn't figure out why you posted that on Instagram.
Wait, so he'll be there? Well, where will he...
I will be there, and you can bet I'll be jerking off all Monday. And
so
then,
he'll be there, as in at the Cubs game.
I guess.
But then not, because he's gonna be in school. JK, I'll be in school jerking off.
Oh man.
Couldn't find a bathroom at Wrigley.
All right, I gotta get going because I still have to do the daily
Corey,
episode recap. Oh.
I think you should cut out a little bit of the car talk at the beginning.
Yeah, I will. Yep, it's in my notes.
I don't think it's bad, but I just think it kind of lasted a little bit too long, to be honest.
Yep, I had it in there. I put big edits.
Yeah.
Just type edit, and then I know to go in and trim something up.
All right.
All right, I will talk to you guys later.
All right, see you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.